All right, welcome and thank you for joining me with Tea Time, Time to Talk. And today we're all having our own little tea or other healthy thing to drink. So I happen to be drinking some chamomile with vanilla tea today, super relaxing, if anybody's interested in a relaxing tea. And I have Jose and Carlton, both are stomach cancer patients who have joined me today for a conversation. What would you be drinking, Jose?
I'm drinking yerba mate.
Oh, that's very good. Anything
Uh,
special about it?
the yerba mate is very, very good. I have a lot of antioxidants, has a lot of properties. Just too many to mention.
Okay.
But it's it was discovered by the Jesuits when they got to South America, and they like it so much that they start making plantations. And they make it, before that, it was a wild, wild earth, and the Jesuits, they made it into a crop.
Oh, fascinating. That's really fascinating. Okay, so what you have in common is stomach cancer, but I think it's so important for the listener to understand that as common as that diagnosis is between each of you, it can be very different. So as readers or listeners are listening to us today, they're going to see that many things are the same for them as well, and many things are not. And that's what's so interesting about a cancer diagnosis is you can relate to other patients because you go through some of the same challenges, and therefore how you get through those challenges, things that you do to help yourself will help other people as well. And sometimes things are very different. I think it's really important to get two different stories, two different pictures of hope. After you view this, whoever's watching, you can always send questions or comments to this email here, which is creationbalance@yahoo.com, which you'll also find on the website, creationbalance.com. And all of this will be underneath the podcast as well, if you're watching it. So just contact us if you have your own story as well, or if you have any questions. So I thought we'd start today just by pretty shortly saying what your diagnosis was, and even just the story around the diagnosis, because that's always really important, what that was like getting the diagnosis and how you felt at the time, and how you even knew to go and get tested for the diagnosis, I think is important as well. So Carlton, why don't we start with you with that aspect, just the diagnosis itself and what got you to the doctor and what ensued after that.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I got my diagnosis in the late June of 2021. I had been a bus driver. I was a bus driver, so my dietary habits were kind of uncommon. I would eat late. I would have a busy schedule where I would get up early in the mornings, and I would eat on the drive all the time. So I was not sitting and eating and thinking that I was letting my food digest properly. But I had been suffering or dealing with some acid reflux and some heartburn. And I think maybe even up to a year or so before I got my actual diagnosis, I thought I was just having some gastro problems. I had been getting checked for acid reflux and for the H. pylori virus, which can contribute to acid reflux, but I kept coming back negative.
Mm-hmm.
But over a while, it kept seeming to get worse. And I was always attributing it to my eating habits.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that because I couldn't sit and eat properly.
Mm-hmm.
So I finally got to a point where I just asked the doctor, I said, "Doctor, something is still wrong. I feel like my food was getting caught up in my chest, and I was sometimes having heartburn even when I wasn't eating." And that really started to concern me. So he finally said, "Well, we'll just go in and look at it with a scope." I was thinking at that time, well, maybe I have an ulcer. Maybe I have an ulcer. It'll be something that I'll just get some medication. I'll be on my merry way. So lo and behold, when I went to the doctor and did the endoscopy, they found a tumor that was growing in my gastroesophageal junction, which is right at the base of the esophagus and at the beginning of the stomach, the neck of the stomach. And it came back malignant. And from that point, my life changed. So I got that in 2021. I was prescribed to get radiation and chemo and then surgery later on that year. So basically that was my diagnosis. So, you know, we can go through all the emotional things and everything that
Yeah,
was.
do you remember feeling really shocked, or how did you feel at that time?
Well, it's so strange. When I got that diagnosis, I think I just numbed out. And I took the diagnosis as if he had told me, well, you got a cavity. I mean, I guess I was so numb and I was kind of in shock, but I tried to remain calm. And I just accepted it that way, as if he had told me I had a cavity and, you know, we'll go in and fix the cavity, it'll be okay. And that was just initial, because that's really wasn't how I felt inside. At the time, my wife wasn't with me, so we were waiting on my wife to come back. And I knew it was something because the doctor stayed around so he could talk to both of us. And so I was getting pretty worried, but once he sat down with me and my wife, and I already knew because I had kind of peeped over on some of his notes, and I saw the word malignancy, and that let me know that something was terribly wrong. And once he talked to us, and after I went home that night, I mean, when I went to bed, I was still in a numbing state, and I just thought about it, and I kept saying to myself, I have cancer. I have cancer. And once I went to sleep and woke up the next day, I realized, well, it's not a dream. I kept hoping that it was just a dream I was having, and I was going to wake up the next day and I'm able to go back to work and everything's going to be fine. But I just shook my head again and I just kept saying, man, I have cancer. And I tell you, once that hit, and of course it was a shock to my wife, it was a shock to me. We had some tears, we had some cries, you know, the realization kept hitting. I had to break the news to my family. You know, I'm not one to keep things. So I immediately was calling my support team, my sisters, my brother, my children. I was telling them so they could follow me all along the way. I wasn't going to try to keep things until the bitter end and then all of a sudden put it on them. I let them, I shared the news with them the entire time. So from that point on, it was somewhat difficult, and it was some ups and downs, a lot of emotions, and a lot of prayer to keep my mind positive.
Wow, so impactful too, you know, and just like you said, a lot of patients go through something called healthy denial, where at first they can't really fully absorb the news. So, and that sounds like the first stage you had, you know, taking it like a cavity and then realizing that this is, and then it becomes more and more real and you can really fully absorb what's happening. Did you have a similar experience, Jose, with your diagnosis?
Well, it was not okay. In 2019 I had a previous cancer. I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I was in the hospital for 21 days. They were treating me for pneumonia, and I was not responding. I had my right lung was totally full of liquids, or totally white out, and my left lung was 2/3 white out. I was living with only 1/3 of one lung.
Goodness.
And the breathing machine, the respirator was standing by, plugged in, standing by, and they never put it in while I was conscious. And then, but I was not responding. I was just going down. I was like 24 hours away from getting into a dying, or very things getting much worse. Some old Cuban doctor came by and says, "Look, they are treating you with for pneumonia, but I'm I'm going to try a whole different approach. And I said, well, we have nothing to lose. So we signed the forms and they changed all the IVs. And by the next morning, when the doctors come at 7 a.m., they are marching through the room. And they all say, wow, you look much better. You look much better. You look much better. So I started responding to that. They still didn't know I had any lymphoma. Nobody. There was no. I had several doctors coming to see me every day. The lungs doctor, the oncologist, the different doctors. And so when I started responding to the medication, started getting better, I went through 2 surgeries.
Mm.
And when I was almost coming out of the hospital, one day the oncologist came up and says, hey, we know what you have. You have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, early stages. Because they had a test, which is they go through 10 Petri dishes from this to this to this. He says, and the last 10th Petri dish had it came positive, the last one. So it was a very mild. So anyway, I didn't know what lymphoma was. I said, oh, okay, so I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Okay, fine. And then I talked to my sister in Spain, and she's a doctor. And I said, oh, the doctor says I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She says, oh my God, you have cancer. I said, oh, really? Oh. I said, but it's mild. He says, yeah, but lymphoma can be cured. So anyway, I got out of the hospital and I went through 12 sessions of radiation. And it was fine. Then I went back to a normal life. I went to a normal life, and last year in around March or so, I started feeling, well, I started getting concerned about a discomfort in my stomach. And so I went to the gastro doctor and he started checking. I had similar symptoms, that carton, my food wouldn't get through. It got stuck. It would come back up. I would throw, batches of food would come back up. And so the gastro doctor, he started doing a test. I forgot the name now. They give you something to eat and they keep taking pictures every hour.
Okay.
Gastro empty.
Yes.
And then he went into an endoscopy number 1, and he did not tell me that because I have problems holding the food. He told me, oh, okay, 12 o'clock at night, stop eating. So that was not good enough. When I went to my first endoscopy, they couldn't see anything. My stomach was full. I threw up in the middle of the procedure, and they couldn't see anything. So then they did CT scan, which was for the chest. But I said, but doctor, this is my problem is not in the chest, it's in the stomach. So, but I was already when I realized it was only for the chest, I thought it was going to be chest and stomach. When I am in the radiology place, I talked to the nurse and she said, no, this is only the chest. I said, no, I need the stomach. She says, well, anyway, so I did the chest. It came out with other things. I got another CT scan for the stomach. And then after that, I got another endoscopy. And this time, 48 hours, I did not eat nothing but liquids. I was very careful to have my stomach empty. And then after that came back, and the doctor, I got some reports. The doctor didn't get to see them. I told my sister, I read her the report, and she says, oh, what you have is very, very, very bad. Talk to your gastro guy right away. I called the gastro guy. I said, look, I got doctors in my family, and they are both telling me this is very serious. So you better read my report, and you better get my report. And so then he got me right away. He got me into another test. The next day, he squeezed me in, and then things start moving very fast. Then he told me I had endocarcinoma something cell.
Okay.
And so immediately I got I got the name, because I was very much into getting all my reports on the discs. I have all the reports, everything. I have a big, so I sent my oncologist, which, you know, I kept in touch with my oncologist for my previous cancer. I
Mhm.
just sent him the letters, the keywords.
Okay.
Immediately I get a call from um, another clinic, for a PET scan.
Mhm.
Immediately I get a call. Yeah, you have an appointment tomorrow. They start moving very, very fast.
Mhm.
So then at that point, it was diagnosed that it took the gastro doctor 2 months to tell me that I had a cancer. It was all little test here, a little test there, a little test there. You know, it is what it is. But
Mhm.
anyway, once the cancer came out, they start moving very fast, and I went through 12 sessions of a very strong chemo, 7 hours on the chair, 6 to 7 hours, 6 liquids. Some of them were like a pint, some of them were half a pint, but my chemo was brutal.
Mm.
My first 4 sessions of chemo, my son came from Orlando to West Palm Beach to stay with me 24/7. Luckily, he can work at home, so he was working in my place, and so I went through grueling for first month. It was like constantly throwing up.
Mm.
I went from having constipation, extreme constipation, to extreme diarrhea, back and forth, one to the other, one to the other. Diarrhea,
Mm.
it was terrible. It was messy. I didn't know how to deal with that. Slowly I learned. I never got Pampers, but I was considering using Pampers. But I use pads underneath my underwear to go to sleep.
Right. And just to back up just a teeny bit, so for both of you, the diagnosis, it was complicated in different ways, you know, it took more than one test, it took not knowing for sure what was going on, having these symptoms, and then yours, Jose, was even more complicated because of the previous cancer, and then these multiple tests and getting the doctor to see the report. You also went through chemo, right, Carlton? You did chemo as well?
I did, and once they did diagnose, I'm like Jose, once they diagnosed and determined that it was definite cancer,
Uh-huh.
everything went down. It was like a snowball going down the hill. I mean, everything, they were pushing
Yeah.
for appointments, for tests. I had some plans to go out of town, and they told me to cancel my plans. I need to start on chemo. I did 30 sessions of radiation,
Uh-huh.
5 sessions of chemo.
Okay.
That was over a period of about a month. I did that. Once I finished with that, um, I had about a month and a half break before I had my surgery. I went up until, I think I started in August,
Mhm.
and I went to the end of September, beginning of October, and I think the end of September. And I got October off, and then on November the 8th, that's when I went in for my surgery. During my time during radiation, I kept being asked, how's my swallowing? At first everything was a breeze. It was easy. I said, oh, this is gonna be okay. It's not gonna be bad.
Mhm.
That's what I thought as far as radiation. Now
Right.
chemo was a different thing. The first treatment I had with chemo, I thought it was gonna kill me.
Mm.
My body rejected it, and I had terrible pain. I crashed. My blood pressure went down, everything. I had severe pain from my back, my side, my chest.
Mm.
So the nurses, they already knew what to do. The crash team came. They
Mm.
gave me, I think they overloaded me with Benadryl, I think it was that they gave me.
Mm.
And in about 6 or 7 minutes, everything kind of started calming down and the pain was easing up. They knew exactly what was going on. I was having a reaction to that particular drug,
Wow.
and they stopped it. Um, they wanted me to come back in 2 days to start again with um, another recipe or another concoction of drug. I was so shocked. I was so in trauma that I told him, no, I can't do it. I won't do it this week. If I can, give me a few more days. I couldn't imagine going through that again. It was scary. So my thought was, if I can't make it through chemo, how can I survive this disease? How can I survive cancer if I can't even take the chemo? So again, that was something that was real devastating to me and hard to accept. So when I went back the next week, they changed my my drug to, I think, what they call Ativo. They changed that, and that's what I was taking for my chemo, and I was able to take that without any real major side effects. Now, as far as my radiation, I had been told that I would start feeling the radiation, maybe a burning in my chest, some tightness, fatigue, that kind of pain after about half of my sessions, which would have been 12. They were predicting 12 to 13 session. 12, 13, I might start feeling stuff or start being able to turn my lungs, because my radiation was directed into the center of my chest in order to get to the spot where the tumor was, but it was close to my heart and close to my lungs. So I was still doing pretty fine. I started, I think sometime I may have started some throwing up, getting chills, sometimes fatigue after I have treatment. In the beginning, the first time I was very weak the next day. As a matter of fact, when I got out of the bed in order to start walking, I almost collapsed because I was just weak. Each time I did radiation, I never would know what to expect. It was different. Sometimes I was very tired, sometimes I wasn't. Sometimes I felt it the next day, and sometimes maybe it was 2 days later that I felt an ill effect of the radiation. But eventually the radiation really started bothering me. I was having more trouble swallowing, and I kept wondering why the doctor kept asking me that. And then I began to see. But once I got past treatment 2021, 22, I was toward the end of my treatment when I started having all my side effects. And the medical team said, well, some people, they react late. So I was one of those late reactors where most of my symptoms came after I finished radiation. After
you finished it. So what happened then? Did you end up with the tube feeding, or what happened to you?
No, I didn't get my tube until after I went in the hospital, but I had to start going on Ensure. I was having more difficulty swallowing food. I started taking medication for that, and I was having problems swallowing a lot of the pills. I was getting chills. I would be definitely cold. And getting chills while I was trembling. I was living in Florida at the time, so I mean, it was very nice and tropical down there, but I was freezing like I was in Alaska.
My goodness. So both of you, I just want to make, for those who are listening, you both had this, I can feel it too, where as soon as they realize this is cancer, things start to go fast, right? Like you said, the snow down the hill, next thing you know. And so in a sense, I can see that that's good, that they get it going and get your care going. But for the patient to experience that, do you feel a sense of fear and loss of control when that happens, or is it true? Can you remember back what that was like when all of a sudden they're telling you where to go, what to do, and your body is reacting to these chemos that are supposed to save your life, right? The chemotherapy medications, but you're having these horrible reactions. Do you remember, Jose, what that part is like? How did you keep going?
Well, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I got the report, and my wife came home. And I told her, I said, honey, sit down. We have to talk. I have some bad news. Of course, she was aware of all my tests and everything. So she got very scared because again, this is the second time. So I said, okay, I have, sit down, I have cancer, bad, very high stage. So she started panicking, and I told her, I said, look, I am not scared. I am ready for whatever comes. I believe in the afterlife, but I am going to fight for you. I promise you that I will fight it, this whole thing for you. For me, I don't care. I live 75 years. I'm happy with my life. I'm happy with what I accomplished. I'm at peace with I have nothing but love for everybody.
Mhm.
And I do believe in an afterlife. So, if I go, I go. And everybody has to go. So, my time has come. So let's
Mhm.
see what is the adventure. I take it as a new adventure. I
Oh,
take death as an adventure.
a challenge and an adventure. And I know we're going to get into adventure today because that's your middle name, basically. You're always
Yeah.
into adventure. And Carlton, I know you didn't even get to finish some of your side effects because then you had an incredibly radical surgery where they removed your stomach and part of your esophagus, and you know how difficult that's been. And I was thinking about for both of you, and Carlton, maybe you can talk about this, the way your body was and the way your life was, and then what you had to adjust to, not swallowing, eating, gaining weight, etc. What has kept you going through that? What keeps you going? Because a lot of our listeners are going through the very chemo and radiation and surgery side effects that you guys have gone through. And they're also thinking, am I going to get through this? Can I get through this?
All right. Well, one thing I want to say in preface to all of that is once I got the diagnosis, and as you said, once everything started moving, and it
Yeah.
was moving so fast, even though that was comforting to know that, hey, now I'm starting to get treatment, but because of the unknown and because of what you don't know, how much you don't know about cancer itself, it's kind of overwhelming and confusing. So I had, in talking to people, you hear a lot of opinions, you hear a lot of this, a lot of that. You have a lot of decisions to make. You got to choose your doctor, you got to choose your facility. You don't know which way to go. You don't know who's the best. You don't know what route you're going to take. You're going to, you got different opinions on how you're going to, what are you going to do? What protocol they're going to use. So I had to choose, and I was between one system that would have done conventional surgery, and then I got a breast at the last minute. I got in touch with someone who do robotic surgery, and I wanted to go through through one facility. My insurance wasn't with them, but I was able to get connected with the cancer center that I wanted to, the University of Miami. I was able to get with them, but I was so confused because I liked the doctors. I didn't know anything about the doctors. I would do my little research. I would go in for the interviews or for the consultations. They all seemed, adept at what they were doing, but I still had to decide, who do I want to do this? Who am I going to put my life in their hands? That was kind of overwhelming. But yes, when I went into the hospital, before, I had been a gym rat. I had been athletic most all my life. I always played ball. I always exercised. I rode the bike. I swim, softball, went to the gym. You name it. If it was physical, if it was outside, if it was healthy, I did it. And I wanted to do it. Played tennis. I played tennis almost every day. So I was in good shape. I was in very good shape. I was about 215 at the time, about 215, and not a fat 215, but somewhat of a physique 215. That was good. That was a plus. That was a plus. I didn't know what I had to go through. I didn't realize the gravity of what I had to go through. And sometimes I would overhear the doctors talking, and they were talking about, one doctor said to his assistant, he said, and he's gonna suffer. He's gonna suffer because he knew what I had to go through. They knew they had to remove my stomach, and then so I had 2 surgeries on the same day. My surgery I was in the operating room for 10 and a half hours. It took me a month and a half to recover. I probably was in ICU for a month. I went in the hospital on November the 8th. I remember it was yesterday. I went in the hospital on November the 8th. I didn't return home until December the 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. So I was out for Christmas. I was about 60 pounds, 60, 65 pounds lighter than I was. I had zero strength. I had to learn how to walk again because I had been on the bed for a month and a half and I was so weak. I couldn't walk. I couldn't even lift a bottle of water over my head. And this from somebody who used to do 200 push-ups. I used to run. I used to swim. I'm lifting weights. I'm doing all of this, and now I have to go in. When I went to my physical therapy, they giving me 2-pound weights or a pound dumbbell, and I struggle just to lift those, and I struggle. And mentally, that was so difficult, very difficult for me. And I think that's one thing that's been the hardest for me, is to get over that. And to accept who I am now, what I am now. Everything is different. I'm still struggling with that, but I'm more positive. But it's a fight, that can be won. I think the main thing I need to say is everybody's story can be different. You know, we as humans, we sometimes cling to the negative and cling to the dreaded. But that doesn't necessarily mean that's what's going to happen to you, because, I mean, the doctors, I found out, they really didn't expect me to live. They didn't expect me to come through surgery. I have a couple of, I think, experiences while I was in the hospital that I know I was pretty close to death. I was incubated twice. My lung collapsed. I had pneumonia. I was in a teaching hospital. And it was just like Grey's Anatomy. When they started their rounds at the first of the day, they used to group outside my room because that surgery I had was very rare. And I had major surgery. I had so much going on. I was connected to everything. And that's where they started their rounds. It's first of all to see if I was still alive, and then to talk about and come and observe and look at all what I had gone through. And I was just laying there as a guinea pig, man. I was so weak, and I was just like, whatever.
You both have so much drive to keep going. I mean, you really do. And I don't even know that all of it can be put in words, because it's on a daily basis, a day-to-day basis, to have gotten through what you have gone through and to keep going now every day. Is there, if you could look back and if there's anything you would want to say to either doctors or other staff or caregivers, not to other patients, but to doctors or caregivers, is there any advice for those who might be listening today? For example, maybe there's certain things that the staff or doctors don't really understand that you'd like to explain to them now. This is something you should know about a patient, or is there anything for caregivers that, in general, that you would want to say, here's an important thing to know about what your loved one is going through? Is there anything like that, either of you?
Yeah, well, I can say one thing. I can say that I am extremely grateful to all my doctors. In the first time I was in the hospital for 21 days, they were so kind, so good, and all I have is gratitude to them. The second time, I have been on a clinic. I go to this chemo clinic all the time, and I am very friendly with with the nurses and with the other patients. We tend to meet the same time every 2 weeks, so you tend to know the faces at least.
Mm,
But what I'm saying to all these people is to keep on going. Some people might have a bad attitude towards doctors and things like that. Maybe I did a little bit myself many years ago.
mm.
But when I was very healthy and nothing ever bothered me, yeah, maybe it's a business, keep doctors and lawyers away from my life, Well, now I say, yeah, maybe keep lawyers away from your life, but doctors, I want them to be around because they actually saved my life. But the biggest thing you can do for yourself in these circumstances is your outlook in life
Mm,
and your outlook. I had a lot of baggage from my childhood,
mhm,
and I made I forgave everybody that was involved in my terrible childhood that I had. I forgave them many long time ago, and I forgive them again every day now. It still
mm,
bothers me,
mm,
and the attitude in life is just what counts. You
mm,
are going to make it. You are going to make it, and I took my whole chemo as an experience, as a grueling challenge. I compare myself to the people in Palestine. I compare myself with people in Africa,
mm,
in all these other places that are starving, and you see all these children. And I say, my God, I am compared to these people. I have nothing to worry about. Yeah, the chemo was a terrible experience.
mhm,
Luckily, I had my wife. She cooked for me
mm,
chicken soup, and it had to be grinded. My mouth was full of blisters.
mm,
Um,
mhm,
I could not. I was so weak.
mm,
Even keeping my eyes open was
mhm,
labor. I
mm.
could not even keep
Wow.
my eyes open.
It's
I,
so
I,
incredible. There's just the survival that you had, but how you gained perspective too. By saying, look at the difference with, other people and they're barely able to survive at all. I think that's so amazing.
I,
That,
I, I kept praying to the God of my heart
uh-huh.
and the God of my understanding. I kept praying to my God, I will accept anything you want to send me. I'll take it. I will take all this suffering.
Mm,
If that is going to get me closer to you when I die, I'll take it. If I have to pay karma right now, I am doing my karma. I'm in purgatory. I'm doing karma right now. I am willing to do it. I do it happily. Just you want to send me something, send it to me. I'll take it.
mm,
Just keep me alive longer. I want to be
mm,
around my wife longer.
mm,
I want to be, but if the day you want to take me.
mm,
And every time I am not religious at all. I grew up Catholic. I was baptized when I was 5 days old. So, and I grew up but then once I started thinking, 14, 15 years old, I started asking questions and I got no answers. I got away from the church
mm,
and I was an agnostic for many years. And
mhm,
then later on in life in New York, I became part of some mystical schools.
mhm,
And I was part of their system and I study a lot. And I basically still follow their teachings. And basically, yeah, you are here to, this is living is an experience.
mhm,
And I like experiences. I like tough experiences.
mhm,
I, I'm not scared of pain and suffering, but I want it to be not in vain, but to be as a healing process.
mhm,
And my family has been so supportive, so
uh-huh.
wonderful. We got everybody together. My sister came from Spain 2 times. Uh, my son keeps coming from Orlando to West Palm Beach. Uh, in the beginning, every weekend he was down here. My wife has been such a fantastic cooking special meals for me.
Mhm.
Uh, Everything had to be drunk. I could not eat anything. I could looking at food or smelling food was horrible.
Oh, yeah,
What a terrible to look at food, and
I
I have
can't
to eat.
imagine. And
I said, yeah. I mean, I lost my hair every time I look at the mirror. And
Mhm.
I have some full size mirrors,
Yeah,
and of course, you're in your house. You are very light of clothing. You are
yeah,
maybe just an underwear. And when I look at myself in the mirror, I say, oh my God, is that me? Is that
wow.
me?
Mm,
Totally bald headed. But every day I would walk out in the catwalk in my I walk in my building like 3 times, like probably half a mile within my building.
Mhm.
I force myself to do that every single day.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
then I started extending every time. No, I don't want to go out. I don't want to do it. I want to be sitting on my easy chair with my eyes closed and let the day go by. I said, no, you got to get out there. You got to get out there. You got to get better. You got to get stronger. And I forced myself. And then after 4 sessions, I started getting a little bit better.
Little, yeah, incrementally better. You know, I
Little
think
better.
something that you both have in common too, and you can elaborate on this, both of you, is that your image of yourself was very intact as athletic, capable, active, loving life, living life. Then you had to adapt to losing even muscular strength, even the ability to eat, and incrementally get better. And I'm thinking, a piece of you, Jose, that I think is so clear that became a driving force is that you do love adventure and being on the edge. And in a way, you were equipped from your past, from the way you lived life, you know, to deal with something so extraordinary. And Carlton, I bet you too have something about you that is really driving you to get back to the person that you were. Before we get to yours, Carlton, Jose, can you tell us like just one crazy, amazing adventure, just one of the many that I know you have, you know, in your life that would, so people could really get a flavor for what you're like with life?
Well, I was a bicyclist. A bicycle in New York, which is hilly. I
Yeah.
became a every weekend bicyclist. I would do 100 miles without any problem. Well, 100 miles I would carbo load through the week. I would start carbo loading through the week but 70, 80 miles, that was a routine. Now 100, 110 miles, I would do that. And then I became a sailor and a scuba diver. In sailing, I had three, well, I had several boats, but I had four big boats, cruising boats where you can live on with refrigeration, with no air conditioning. Actually, I never had refrigeration. I always say, well, I'm on a sailboat, I'm going to rough it. I switched from beer to wine. So I switched from drinking beer to drinking wine, and I crossed the ocean twice first time on a 60-foot boat, on a millionaire's boat. I was part of 5 people. I was the second captain, the navigation. I did most of the navigation. He had an official captain, but I was very knowledgeable. And the second time, that was from Barcelona down Barcelona, Gibraltar, Cádiz, Sevilla, Canary Islands, Puerto Rico. And that was the first trip. Now that was great, fantastic. And then the second trip, I went across the ocean. It was just me and another guy on a 37-foot sailboat. We used the engine maybe 5-6 hours to charge the batteries, and we went through some major storms, because going from New York to Portugal was a lot more difficult than coming from in the southern part. When you come from Europe to the Americas, then it's much easier. It's less, but going from New York to Europe is very challenging. And so anyway, we survived tremendous 2 major storms. One was really scary. I never got scared. I got concerned. I said, no, don't get scared. Being scared, I learned that in diving. In diving, you don't get scared. You stop, you breathe, you think, you act. Okay, and that's what. And then in diving, so that's the sailing. And diving, I went to the most extreme dive. Well, not the most extreme, no. But I did some cave diving, which is very extreme, very extremely dangerous.
Right, it is.
A cave diving, you make a mistake, you got no air, you have no place, you have a ceiling. If something happens, that's it, But I went with an instructor in Mexico, and I spent a whole week doing diving in caves, very dangerous. And it was wonderful. I love it. The
Yeah.
adrenaline. I guess I was an adrenaline
I think
junkie.
you are. Yeah, and so that proves my point. You know, the survivor personality, as we know it, is a personality that's very flexible and adaptable to situations, but also has this other challenge and drive through life, and where problems are seen as a challenge too. So it's just amazing how you utilized how you were now, and you've been utilizing it to survive cancer as well. And you too, Carlton, because your survivor personality, I mean, I'm going to let you tell everybody the constancy, the perseverance, the ability to see perspective, the just all the ways that you adapt and what your life has been and has given you. Tell us a little bit about you also and some of these meaningful experiences that this has offered you now, or gifts or even benefits in this challenge of cancer that you've gotten. What do you think?
Well, you know, as I listen to Jose, we're a lot the same, and then we so different. We're different in a way because our approaches are different. We come to the same, it's just like the old saying goes, more than one way to skin a cat.
Yeah.
We get to the same result, but I don't look for, I like adventure. I don't like danger.
Yeah.
I don't like that type of adventure. You know, I love excitement, and I love, when I was young, I always wanted the most physical way. I mean, if I had to choose the branch of military, I wanted to go Marines. I wanted to be physical. I wanted to be in the rough and tough, make me do the push-ups, make me run the miles. And, you know, because all that was building my body up.
Mhm.
As far as it's the danger part, no, I don't. But my mentality is once it's there, you know, you got to put gloves on. And once you're in the fight, all you got to do is you got to fight till you come out.
Mhm.
So that's how I see it.
Mhm.
But I want to backtrack a little bit because I know you were asking about what do we tell
Yeah,
caregivers, what you want to talk to your
I
doctors
do.
about, or what, that type of thing. As far as, and I learned some things as I went through the process, and as I'm going through the process, I'm still learning about the doctors because you have different approaches from your doctors. One thing about cancer, it's a long journey. It's a long journey in a lot of cases because it's difficult to treat. And once you treat it, you still have to be on the lookout for it. So you're still always in a constant alert. You know, you're looking at your numbers, you're looking at your blood work, you got to take scans regularly just to see, make sure it's not coming back.
Mhm.
One thing that's very important, this for everybody, is the positive. That's like the Jose hit on, is the positive outlook and keeping the mind positive. When
Mhm.
I was in the hospital, nurses used to always come and tell me, as sick as I was, as sick as I looked, they always stressed to me, keep a positive outlook. Always think positive, no matter you're scared, you know you're sick, you don't feel good, but think positive, think positive. And I began to come to realize exactly what they meant because your body follows your mind, your medical. I think the way you feel medically follows your mind. One thing for the caregivers I want to emphasize is and try to understand is with cancer, it's such a mental toll. It's a mental toll on the patient. I mean, they're going through changes, or we go through changes
Mhm.
that frustrate us. It's very frustrating to us because you see your body changing, you're losing the ability to do things that you've always been able to do.
Mhm.
You may sometimes feel that you're less of a person than you were because you just can't do what you used to do.
Mhm.
So you have to understand with that in mind to try to be empathetic, with that patient because there's going to be some frustrating days. Sometimes the attitudes are not going to be that favorable.
Mhm.
Sometimes there may be things said
Mhm.
that may be regretful because it's a lot of stress. It's a
Mhm.
lot of stress not only on the patient, but also on the caregiver as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so that's one thing to be cognizant of is that at the same time you're being stressed out, remember that the patient is not only going through the fight medically, but also it's a lot of mental stuff that they're going through that you have to kind of accept.
Mhm.
Because it's hard to accept when your body is declining.
Yeah, yeah.
Used to a certain life or a certain lifestyle. Everybody gets old, and yeah, that comes with age. But this brings on things, I think, at a more accelerated pace. One thing my doctors did, and I appreciate all my doctors, some of them I know as I look back, just like when I used to have to do the breathing machine, the little breathing apparatus, they would make me, and they knew I couldn't do it, but
Mhm.
they would set my goal at
Mhm.
a place where they knew I couldn't do it. But
Mhm.
they made me think I got to do that. If I want to get out this ICU, you got to reach this. This is what you got to do X amount of times a day. I could not do it. I had to try, but that made me do at least enough to keep pushing my lungs, keep pushing my lungs. Even though I would think I'm a failure. I would think I failed, but they would say, just keep on. They said, you got to get to this, you got to get to that. I realized now I wouldn't, they knew I couldn't do it.
Mm.
Some of the doctors, when it comes down to, I think, telling you what some of your side effects, some doctors, they have different approaches. I
Mhm.
think some of them, they tell you just enough to keep you hopeful
Mhm.
that you're going to be okay, and that is doable.
Mhm.
Because the challenges that lies ahead with the cure of the cancer and fighting all the side effects of the treatment is numerous. So I think if they told you everything that you were to expect or what you were to experience,
Mhm.
I think for one person to take all that in at one time is too overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because I'm finding out things even as I go along, and I'm 18 months, almost 2 years out of surgery.
Mhm.
My body is still changing. It seems like if one thing gets better, something else changes on another end.
Yeah.
And I'm still getting better, but I'm not, like someone says, getting better. Healing is not a straight line all the time.
Mhm.
Sometimes you sidestep, sometimes you have a little step back, sometimes you go forward, then you step back. But all along the way, overall, you're still improving.
Mhm.
Every day you wake up, you're improving.
Mhm.
Some days are better. You can tell some good days and bad days. But I found that some of my doctors, they only give me they spoon feed me.
Yeah.
They give me just a little bit. And then when I start having other symptoms, they say, oh, yeah, well, that's known to happen. Yeah. And now we got to get ready to, so you're one of these patients that fall in that category. Now we can explain this to you, and then you can get ready to experience this. And you keep going on. I kept asking my doctors about getting back to my original weight. My doctor first told me when in the beginning that you'll be able to eat steak and potatoes again. Don't worry, you'll be there. You'll
Mhm.
be going back to the gym. You'll be back. And the more and the longer it took and the harder it was for me to digest food, I finally realized that maybe this is something that's not going to happen. I had to ask one of my doctors, and sometimes the nurses will be more honest than the doctor about what you're going to expect or how long it's going to take to get to a point. I finally had to realize what's realistic. Stop dreaming about what you used to be. Accept what you are and what you can and what's doable now.
Mhm.
So now I'm looking to get, I think my top weight may be 30 to 40 pounds less than what it was originally, but at least if it's more than what it is now, that's still something to push for.
Mhm.
And the way I look at it is I can rebuild myself from the ground up.
Mhm.
I won't be the same bulky me, but I still can be a lean, mean fighting machine
Yeah.
that's built, a new me that's built from the ground, from the floor up.
Yeah.
So I take that as a challenge because I'm my own trainer. I'm
Mhm.
my own fitness guru. So I'm my own project. So
Mhm.
that's how I look at it. I'm doing things, everything I do And sometimes I get off track and I need coaching for that. Everything I do, I'm thinking about what my end result is going to be. And I'm realizing that it's going to take a long time. It's not going to be overnight. Just keep on doing it. Keep on doing it. Just like we used to say when I worked for transit, just keep coming.
Yeah.
It's going to get better. Just keep coming.
Right, right.
And that's what happened. Just keep coming.
Mhm.
And I keep doing it a little bit at a time.
Mhm.
Now I could go in and I can do my dumbbell workout. I can work my abs. I can do, I can bicycle
Mhm.
up to 5 miles or 6 miles on the stationary bike.
Mhm.
I can walk. I used to walk 3 miles. I haven't started walking that far yet, just because I don't have that route here, but I can walk 2 miles. I can do that.
Mhm.
When I first started, I couldn't walk up a hill. Everything was flat. I couldn't do anything. I could barely walk to my front door and back.
Yeah, see, that's so incredible. And then you accept these smaller goals, these shorter, more approachable goals, more realistic. And then as you meet them, you move to the next and the next. I think that's a great thing for everyone who's listening to hear, that you might not get here right away. Both of you have said it's got to be step by step in the healing. So we're getting pretty close to the hour. So is there anything else that, I know I've really learned a lot from both of you, and I've enjoyed hearing your stories, and every time I hear it, there's a little more, a little something else. So is there anything that this has kind of brought up to mind in your memory, or, that you feel
Well,
like I'd really like to share?
I could tell Carlton, now I am biking 10 miles every day. I go to the gym. I do all them. We have 20 machines. I do them all. I do 40 reps in every machine. Well, by the time I finish with that machine, I am tired of that muscle. It's tired. So I gauge the weight. I do 140 pounds on my legs. I do as much as I can, so I can do 40 repetitions. So anyway, when I started walking, I said, well, I'm tired of walking within the building, and let me start walking farther out. So I started going. I live on the second floor. Start going downstairs, but my balance was very, very bad. Because at the end of my chemo was terrible. But after feeling better, I went back to feeling very, very bad. I got very strong neuropathy, very, very bad. I still have it right now. It might be permanent. I don't know. I hope not. Very strong neuropathy affects my feet, my hands, or my skin. I discovered that neuropathy and sugar. The other day I munched some chocolates, milk chocolate, which I never do, but M&Ms. I said, the heck, I got a fistful of them. And then my neuropathy got so bad. So guess what? No more. I really stopped switch. Anyway, what I wanted to tell Carlton, if you want to start walking, that helped me a lot, was I use the walking sticks. Okay, because that, first of all, if you use a cane, you look like an old man. But if you go with the walking sticks, then you look like an athlete.
Okay.
And not only that, but you're moving your shoulders, and once you get into the rhythm, into the synchronized walking, if you are losing your step, you can hold yourself, because now you have 4 points. And that's what got me back into walking 2-3 miles. And now once I could not get on my bicycle. Even I have one of my bicycles is a female bike. Well, they call it the female bike. Okay. And I could not get my leg over the bar. So I started doing exercises to get my leg over the bar. Once I start biking, I stopped walking. I do not like walking. I am a bicyclist. But when I started walking, I used the walking sticks. Walmart's have them for like $20. They're and just put them at your height, and they are very helpful. It gives you confidence, gives you balance, makes you work your shoulders and your tricep and your biceps, and it's a lot more complete workout, and it will get you out. And guess what? You look like an athlete. You don't look like an old man with a cane.
Yeah, my wife has some of
That's a
those.
nice
And only
tip.
thing, one thing I do have, I don't have a walking sticks, but I have a dog, And
The
that I have
dog.
to pull and tug him. He wants to smell stuff. I got to pull up with him. I got to stop. I got to go. I got to stop. I got to go. So that's an extra workout. But once I
That's
can get rid of
exercise.
him, yeah, yeah. Once
just
I get rid of him,
I want to thank both of you because it's been inspirational and informative. I'm sure we're gonna have people emailing, asking questions, so I'll get back with you on those, but anytime you want to come back on again, you know, if you think of things like we need to talk more about nutrition or want to talk more about anything. Also, I think we should do a follow-up maybe in a month, you know, and just see how things are so we can follow your progress and share it with everybody. Any parting words to any parting words to patients or to each other? Or...
Yeah, what I can tell the people. Yeah, go ahead, Carlton. Go ahead, Carlton.
I was just saying, my problem was to everybody, that's us and that's you, Jose, is that, you know, like I said, just keep getting up every day, keep fighting. It's gonna be good days, it's gonna be bad days. I didn't even touch on, I had so much to say, so much information out there, so much experience, and so much to share that 1 hour didn't even do us justice. And I hope that, you know, we can do this again some other time. There's so many different areas to touch on.
There's so
You know,
many, yeah, it's really not
pre-
enough time.
Pre-treatment, treatment,
Mhm,
post-treatment,
mhm.
and beyond. So it's so many different stages. We didn't even touch on half of it, but
The next time we'll come on and do pre, during, post, and beyond. We'll at least capture all of it that way. Jose, any last parting words?
Yeah, well, the only thing I can tell people that are going through this is that, like in a bad divorce, it's always an ending. You know, when you are in a bad divorce, you figure it's never, well, eventually it will end. So don't worry about it. This will, well, this might end in a bad way or in a good way, but it's never a bad way because life in Earth is a transient. We are transients here. And everybody has to go to the end. And so everybody has the thing. Just keep looking positive, be positive, challenge yourself, don't give up, do it for your family, do it for your loved ones, and just don't be scared, don't be afraid. Death is a transition. And if it comes, well, guess what? You are starting a whole new adventure. I had a vision. My mother came to me 6 months after she died. It was not a nightmare. I had several nightmares that she was all of a sudden at the airport calling me to pick her up. Oh my God, mother, I can't. But this time it was a vision. It was a vision, and she came to say goodbye because she was moving on to other spheres, other planes. And that gave me a lot of people. I tell that to people, they laugh about it, but it was very real to me, and I want to believe it that was a real vision experience. And things, you know, the transition is nothing but you're switching from being a physical being to a mental being, and it's a whole new adventure. It's a whole new thing. My God, what is it out there? What is it? What is next? You know, it's like you are watching a chapter in a novel. I wonder what the next chapter is going to be like. So don't be afraid of it. But while you are living, it's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to nature and to your God to be alive as much as possible and as long as possible. So keep trying to be alive. Follow the doctor's advice. Be positive, and don't be afraid because the outcome, who knows, it might be way better than it is right now.
All right, well, thank you both for the inspiration and all the motivation for everybody and for the positive vibe and attitude. I really appreciate it. And yes, we will definitely get back together again. And I'll see you soon. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
www.creationbalance for anyone who is looking for talking to us or also sharing their story. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Tea time. All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.